My name is Claire Bennett, I'm 42 years old. To the outside world, I had everything. A beautiful 3-bedroom brownstone in the suburbs of Portland. A charming, successful husband. 2 wonderful kids who never gave me trouble. And a golden retriever named Max, because of course we had a golden retriever. My Instagram told one story: brunches, beach trips, anniversary flowers, a life curated to perfection. But behind that filtered lens, there was a different kind of story. The one I never posted. The one no one saw. It didn't happen overnight. No loud arguments, no slammed doors, no visible cracks. Just small things. Ethan, my husband, started coming home later. Not late enough to raise suspicion. Just enough to notice. At first, I brushed it off. He was working hard, trying to expand his tech consulting business. That's what he told me, that's what I told myself. He stopped leaving coffee for me in the mornings. Started wearing cologne again. Put a password on his phone. I asked once, why the new password? He laughed, kissed my forehead, said something about client confidentiality. I smiled, pretended to believe him. But the pit in my stomach didn't. It's funny how intuition works. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And I heard the whispers. In the way he wouldn't meet my eyes when he said, I love you. In the way he flinched when I reached for his phone to check the time. But I didn't want to be that wife. The paranoid one, the insecure one. The one who breaks what might still be whole. So I stayed quiet. And the silence between us grew. It was a Wednesday when I first saw her name. Madison. A Venmo transaction, buried between grocery payments and utility bills. Lunch, thanks babe. I stared at the screen. Felt the floor tilt, just slightly. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I started paying attention. He would disappear on weekends, saying he was flying out for client meetings. I found receipts from restaurants I'd never been to. A scarf in the back seat of his car that didn't belong to me. But the most painful betrayal? It wasn't the affair. It was how well he pretended. He still kissed me goodnight. Still told me he loved me. Still acted like the man I had married, except now I could see the script in his eyes. And yet, I played along. Because admitting the truth meant tearing apart the world I had built for over 15 years. Photos on the wall. Vacations in Cabo. That first Christmas in our home, when he stayed up all night building a dollhouse for our daughter. He used to look at me like I was his forever. Now, he looked past me, like I was a photograph slowly fading on the mantle. One evening, I woke up around 2 a.m. He wasn't in bed. I found him in his office, hunched over his laptop, shutting it quickly when I walked in. What are you doing? I asked. He smiled, that fake, two-eyed smile I had grown to hate. Just work, go back to sleep. But I couldn't sleep. Not after what I saw, a flight confirmation to San Diego. For 2. I didn't confront him. Instead, I opened a new folder on my desktop. Named it, Truth. For the next 3 months, I played my role perfectly. Dinner on the table. Soft kisses at the door. Laughs at his fake stories. But behind the curtain? I was documenting everything. Emails, transactions, GPS logs. I even hired a private investigator, a woman named Marta, who worked quietly and efficiently. What she brought me confirmed everything I feared. Photos of Ethan and Madison, holding hands at a resort, kissing in an airport lounge. He wasn't just cheating. He was preparing to leave. To start over, without me. Then, one morning, I woke up to find our joint savings account empty. He had drained every cent. Vanished without a word. No note, no text. Just, gone. Everyone assumed I was devastated. But they didn't know what I had been planning. Because the game he thought he was playing? I had rewritten the rules long ago. And I was about to show him that he picked the wrong woman to betray. There's a moment after disaster hits, a stillness. It doesn't look like chaos. It looks like coffee cups left in the sink, a cold half-eaten sandwich, a blinking cursor on a bank screen showing zero balance. Claire, internal monologue, he didn't just leave me. He erased me. The bank account, gone. Our joint savings, the one we were using to renovate the house, the one meant for Emily's university, cleaned out. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to change. Some part of me thought maybe it was a glitch. But it wasn't. He had transferred every last cent. And left nothing but a single email. I need time, don't try to contact me, I'll be in touch when I can, Daniel. My hands were shaking, not from fear. From fury. This wasn't a man looking for space. This was a man on the run. Looking back, the signs were always there. The secret of texts, the overnight business trips. The way he started locking his briefcase like we were in a spy movie. But love can be loud in the beginning. And silent in the end. I used to believe in us, in him. But I realized something that day. When a man walks out and takes your money with him, he's not looking for space. He's betting you won't fight back. Claire at the bank, trying to understand how he did it. The banker is kind but firm. Mrs. Bennett, I'm sorry, but since Mr. Bennett was a joint account holder, the transactions were technically legal. He emptied it all, without even a conversation. There's nothing we can do. If there's a legal dispute, you'll have to file a claim. Claire walks out, clutching a folder of useless papers. Her breath fogs in the cold London air. And just like that, the weight of the truth hits her. She's alone, and broke. But not defeated. Claire spends the night at her friend Mia's flat. Mia is blunt, a realist, the kind of woman who never sugarcoats pain. You loved him, but he didn't love you back the same way. He took your love and turned it into a safety net, until he found something else. I was so stupid. No, you were loyal, there's a difference. That night, Claire doesn't sleep. She stares at the ceiling, repeating Mia's words in her head. And then a spark flickers inside her. Loyalty isn't weakness, but being silent is. They say betrayal cracks you open, and from the fracture, light enters. But what if the light wasn't warm or healing? What if it was icy cold, calculated, and surgical? That was me. After Daniel vanished with our money, after I found the safe empty, the bank account drained, and the investment portfolio cashed out, I sat still in that cold silence, and I smiled. Not because I was okay, but because I had planned for this. Let me explain. 3 months before Daniel disappeared, I noticed a change in his patterns. Not just the secretive phone calls or the missing receipts, those were surface ripples. What changed was his eyes. They didn't rest on me the way they used to. He scanned me, like a man counting down. He thought I didn't see it, that I was too soft, too trusting. But I had grown up watching my father play poker every Friday night with the boys from the firehouse, and if there's one thing I learned sitting on his lap as he bluffed with a straight face, it's that the calmest man in the room is usually the most dangerous. So I became calm. I stopped asking questions. I kissed Daniel goodnight with the same soft smile. And I quietly started making moves. I met with a private forensic accountant, Linda Greaves, a sharp woman with sharper eyes. She used to work for the IRS. Now, she helped women like me figure out just how bad things were, and more importantly, how to fight back. What we found shocked even her. Daniel hadn't just taken money, he had funneled it through shell accounts into an offshore investment platform under a name I didn't recognize. But it was traceable, barely, enough for a judge to care, if we ever got there. That's when Linda said the words that flipped the switch in me. You could expose him now, Claire, but if you're patient, you could bury him. So I waited. I let Daniel think he'd won. I responded to his email, a pathetic, cold message sent 3 days after he left. He said he was sorry, that he needed space to think about who he was, that he wasn't ready to be tethered to a life that didn't feel like his anymore. I replied simply. I understand, I'll be okay, take the time you need. That's it. No anger, no accusations, just soft, forgiving, believable heartbreak. Then, I deleted the email and forwarded a copy to my lawyer. 3 weeks passed. I poured everything into building my design consultancy. I rebranded, new name, new logo, clean, minimal, Scandinavian style, the kind of aesthetic that said, I have rebuilt myself and I don't need you. Clients started rolling in. I worked 16-hour days, and every night, I documented everything, the trail of Daniel's theft, the offshore accounts, the emails, the names of his accomplices, including her. Yes, her. She called herself Alina Roth, 29. Swedish-American, crypto advisor, and exactly the kind of woman Daniel would fall for. She was smart, I'll give her that, cold eyes, perfect skin, and a LinkedIn profile that was almost too clean. But she had made a mistake. She used one of Daniel's shell companies as a consulting reference on a podcast appearance. Linda flagged it, we traced it, and suddenly, I had her phone number. I didn't call. Not yet. Instead, I created a fake consulting client. Verity Interiors. A boutique design brand based in Berlin, all fake, all mine. And I reached out to Alina. My first Zoom with Alina was brief. I used a German accent and a stylish, borrowed background. I told her I wanted her consulting on a crypto expansion for my husband's new studio. She smiled, hooked by the scent of money. I scheduled a second meeting, then a third. By the fourth meeting, I dropped a name Daniel used on one of his fake companies. Her smile froze, just for half a second. She knew. I leaned in and said softly, funny, I think you know my husband. The trap wasn't a moment, it was a slow build. I had to play this right. Alina went silent after that Zoom call, but not completely. Through metadata, Linda tracked her location hopping from Zurich to Singapore to Lisbon. She was spooked, which meant Daniel was too. Then, he called me. For the first time in months, I saw his name on my phone. Daniel. I answered. Claire, I don't even know where to start, he said, his voice low and unsure. Then start with the truth, I said, calm, measured, deadly. He stammered, apologized, blamed the pressure, said he was coming back, to make things right. I told him I needed time. He thought he was gaining ground. What he didn't know was that my lawyer was recording the entire call. 1 week later, Daniel showed up. Not at our house, I had sold it. He showed up at the old studio, the one where we used to host clients, but he didn't find furniture or samples. He found a single envelope. Inside, a court summons, a forensic report, a timeline of every financial crime he'd committed, and a note from me. You always loved games, Daniel. Let's play one more. You've got 7 days. In those 7 days, Daniel made 3 mistakes. He contacted Alina again, and she, now fearing prison, flipped on him. He tried to withdraw the remaining funds from a crypto wallet, which was now frozen by court order. He called me again. This time, I didn't pick up. I let him sweat. I wasn't interested in revenge, not really. I wanted him to feel the powerlessness he made me feel, not by screaming, but by thriving without him. On the 7th day, Daniel walked into the courthouse with a lawyer he couldn't afford. I sat on the opposite side, calm in my dark blue suit. He looked at me with wide, desperate eyes. But I had already won. I used to think closure came from apologies. That justice meant people owning their mistakes. I was wrong. Closure, real closure, comes when you realize you've outgrown the pain, and the person who caused it. And justice? Sometimes it's not about the courtroom. Sometimes, it's about watching them realize they lost the best thing they ever had. And it's too late. It had been 10 months since James vanished. 10 months since he emptied our joint account and disappeared like a coward in the night. 10 months since he left me to clean up the wreckage of his mess. But I wasn't broken, I was rebuilding, quietly, fiercely. Then came the email. Subject line, can we talk? James. He didn't know I had eyes everywhere. Didn't know I'd been tracking his moves since he ran. Didn't know his new life in Malta with his young lover had crumbled. Turns out, money disappears quickly when you don't know how to earn it. Turns out, she left him, the same way he left me. And now, he wanted to talk. I smiled. Sure, James, let's talk. The old me would have cried. Would have panicked. Would have considered forgiveness. But not this Claire. This Claire stood taller. Spoke louder. Knew her worth. My business had grown. I'd launched a coaching platform, helping women navigate betrayal and rebuild. I had clients across Europe, invitations to speak, my name on podcasts and articles. My home wasn't filled with silence anymore. It was filled with purpose. So when James walked into the cafe, thinner, older, desperate, I didn't feel nervous. I felt nothing. He sat across from me, eyes wide, like he barely recognized the woman in front of him. He shouldn't have. Claire, he said, his voice a mix of guilt and longing. I made a mistake. I didn't interrupt, I let him talk. About how she manipulated him. About how the money was gone. About how he missed the life we had. He even had the audacity to ask, could we start over? I tilted my head. James, the only reason you're here is because she left you, not because you miss me, not because you're sorry. He stammered, that's not true. I leaned forward, calm but cutting. You didn't break me, you freed me. Then, I slid a small envelope across the table. Inside, a printed copy of the police report I had filed the day he vanished. The lawyer's letter confirming his breach of marital assets. His eyes widened. You see, I said, I let you think you won, but that was part of the trap. Turns out, James hadn't just emptied our bank account. He'd also taken business funds, my funds. Funds that were traceable, funds that gave me legal leverage. My lawyer had been gathering evidence for months, quietly, strategically. We'd waited until the statute caught up to his actions. You'll be hearing from the court soon, I said. James looked pale. Claire, please, don't do this. I stood up. You already did. It took 1 year. One brutal, beautiful year. But now, I was standing on my own 2 feet, stronger than I'd ever been. Not because I had to. Because I chose to. I didn't just survive betrayal, I turned it into a blueprint. I helped hundreds of women turn their stories into strength. And James? Well, let's just say, karma doesn't knock. She walks right in when you least expect her. They say revenge is best served cold. But I think it's best served with a smile, a full bank account, and a life so radiant They have to wear shades just to look at you. Because he thought he ruined me. But all he did was remind me who I really was.